What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. And this is where we at now. So, I have Pastor David James Manning here, and he's got a few choice words for the Black community, man. And I kind of dove a little bit, but I didn't go too deep. So let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
Here, and I'm not going to be much longer with y'all. I understand we need to move beyond color. I'm not about that, but y'all raised it. If you start it, I'll end it for you. Don't start nothing, it won't be nothing. But we got a problem. Black people got a problem. Now we can move to color blindness and always look at the man by the content of his character, never the color of his skin. I'm down for that. You get my vote. Yay and amen. I'm for that. But before we get there, we need to hear some truth. Black people and white folk. Black people got a problem. And it's a God problem. When black people see the world, I don't care. You can train them. You can train a black man to be a physician. You can train him to be an astrophysicist. You can train him to be a lawyer, but you can't train him to understand the world. He doesn't know. I'm telling you. There's not 2 cents worth of difference between a mass murderer. There's not 2 cents of difference between a petty thief that's locked away in prison than a black doctor when it comes to understanding the world. Listen, you listen to me. We got to deal with this. And we need to begin to acknowledge it, talk about it, ask God to help us, because only God can help black people where they are. Black people had Africa, that big old continent over there. They never built one boat that was seaworthy. Not one. There's not one monument in Africa, in all of Africa. I know you're talking about Egypt. Egypt is not Africa.
Nah, see, that's where I disagree at, okay? Egypt is Africa. Egypt has been a part of Africa since the beginning of the landmass. I definitely don't like when people, I've heard people that live in Egypt now, the new Egyptians now, trying to separate themselves from Africa. If the new Egyptians now are over there saying that they don't want to be a part of Africa, then that means Egypt is a part of Africa. Egypt has always been a part of Africa. If you look at the statues, they look just like us.
So what the French coast is there to think about?
Look at the ancient statues. They don't look nothing like the new Egyptians that call Egypt home now. They don't look nothing like those people, the ancient statues. Nothing. So, and yeah, it was once upon a time when black people pretty much had together on this planet. It may have been, of course, it was thousands of years ago. I don't negate that. That is the truth. It's been a very long time since black people have had together on this planet. But we once upon a time we did. And yes, Egypt is part of Africa.
There are no great cities that were built even before the first colonization of white people coming to the shores of Africa or the slave ships. Black men built nothing.
That's another lie. Mansa Musa, you know what I'm saying? Look it up. He's from the side of Africa. I think should be like if I'm thinking it's going to be like maybe the West Bank of Africa, somewhere where basically the part of Africa, if you look at the map nowadays, it's pretty much desert. But thousands of years ago, that was all green. You know what I'm saying? That was green land. It was people actually lived there. I can't think of what country that is, but it's a Western country in Africa that Mansa Musa used to run. And he owned that land for a significant amount of generations. And, see, this is where I be talking about. Black folks don't really know every damn thing. You know what I'm saying? He talking out the side of his neck a little bit. Now, I do agree that black people need to get their shit together. We definitely do. But he talking out the side of his neck just a little bit. He, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, black people used to run stuff. It, like I said, it may have been a long time ago. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna be honest with that. Yes. But black people used to run things. We used to have things under control.
No sewer system. no houses above one level, and none of them made out of stone. All of them made out of grass and wood. Black men, before the white man ever got to Africa, the worst thing that could ever happen to South Africa was when they gave it to Nelson Mandela and black folk. That was a great nation. Now, notwithstanding apartheid was wrong, we all know it's wrong. I'm against it. There should have been some other resolution, though, than turning it over to Nelson Mandela. Disease, AIDS, and crime is running wild in Johannesburg. They're killing one another over there. They're dying of sickness. The government is mismanaged. The people who ran the nation are now leaving the nation because black folk don't know how to run no nation.
I wouldn't say that necessarily black folks don't know how to run a nation. For some reason, you know, the black people that are being either voted in or allowed to run shit are the ones that are the most corrupt. For some reason, we keep electing the worst of us to run shit. Now, I do get him on that aspect. I can say that. Like, for some reason, we keep electing when we do have like Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago and stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So for some reason, we do keep electing the worst of us to run these cities and run these spaces and stuff like that. I definitely will agree on that.
They don't know how, and we need to admit it. I know you don't like it, but you need to stop shucking and jiving. We got a problem. Nigeria produces oil every year, yet the children over there are hungry and pot-bellied and walking barefoot. We got a problem. You talk about the Hutus and the Tutsis. Look what's going on in Zimbabwe now with Mugabe. We got a problem, black folk. And forget about Zimbabwe and South Africa, Nigeria. Look at what y'all have done in Harlem. You can't even hold on to Harlem. We got a problem. Black folk don't understand the world. You can get mad with me all you want. You can say what you, but you can't prove me wrong. Now, I'm not saying this because I hate black folk. I'm saying it because I love you enough to tell the truth. And the only person going to ever help us get out of the situation is going to be God. There's something wrong with the black man's mind. There's something wrong with his mind. He does not understand the world. He doesn't. I don't care if he learned medicine. He doesn't understand the world. He can't even hold on to Harlem. When he was here, he moved out. We got to talk to the Lord. People, we got to talk to God.
Now, this is one aspect I also kind of agree with. You know, black people, we tend to, you know, we have all these, which now, you know, is prime real estate places. Yeah, they've gentrified Harlem like a motherfucker, though. You know, like, I've never been to New York, I've never been to Harlem, but I hear things, I see pictures, I know people that, you know, they have grew up there, stuff like that, and, you know, just from knowing the situation and stuff like that, and knowing that they're, you know, basically telling me the truth, you know, it's, man, yeah, you know, black folks, we tend to let our neighborhoods, you know, go and things like that. We tend to do that. You know, we don't have any control a lot of times, and we really allow our neighborhoods to go to shit. You know, and I've definitely noticed that since I've been alive and stuff like that. It is sad. It is very sad that, you know, we have allowed a lot of our neighborhoods to become hoods and all this other type of dumbass crap, you know, due to, you know, the mindset definitely in our community. And I can definitely agree with that one.
And black women, Shirley Chisholm, Harriet Tubman, Coretta King, one of her boys. Yeah, okay, then we got a black president. But you black women, what's wrong with y'all? Y'all gonna let that white woman, what's wrong with you black women voting for Barack? Don't you understand? It should have been a black womb if you're gonna have a black president. What's wrong with you? Y'all ain't got no sense, you black women. Your men treat you like the dogs, like your dogs. They walk all over you. They make you pay the bills at home, and then the preachers pimp you in the churches and make you pay the bills. Y'all crazy black women buying these black men private jets, the tune of $50 million for a nigga to ride around in a private jet.
Yo.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
I think we know who he's talking about. Now, he ain't saying no specific names, but some of these mega churches, you know what I'm saying, definitely some of these mega black churches and stuff like that, these preachers are riding around in a lot of expensive shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, of course, you know, TD Jakes, shit. Who else? The bishop that was, you know, recently promoting that, you know, the DEI situation and stuff like that. I can't think of that dude's name, but yeah, though, you know, a lot of these mega churches, man, it's basically they are filled with women, filled to the brim with women. The cup runneth over in those churches with women, and those women are coming up out of pocket and things like that, and they are, you know, allowing these pastors and stuff like that to, you know, have all this money. These pastors buying jets and stuff like that. Like, you know, that one jet, you could rebuild a whole community just off that one jet. You can buy up a whole community and revamp the whole community, you know, from top to bottom with $50 million. You know, reconstruct, you know, redo homes, you know, redo schools in that community with 50 million. Come on, bro. Like, you know, I'm not saying he truly wrong on everything. I'm not saying this pastor's truly wrong on everything he's saying. You know, I'm picking out the points that I think that he was wrong. Definitely about, you know, what the situation is in Egypt, and also, you know, black people, you know, are just, you know, a certain type of way too. But yeah, he does have a small point here. You know, it is a shame that black people have allowed this to go on in our communities for so long. And yeah, you know, our women are out here, like he said, you know, giving these pastors a shit ton of money, you know, and they're just, you know, they're making the church house look good, but the neighborhood that the church house in looks like shit out here. It's crazy.
So what the French toast
It's crazy.
is there to think about?
Or the church house is so far removed from the neighborhood that the congregation actually lives in till it's ridiculous.
And you talk about, look at our pastor. What's wrong with y'all women? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And what's wrong with a black man that would take that kind of money out of a poor neighborhood and buy himself a private jet? What's wrong with y'all niggas? What's wrong with you?
Oh, man.
What's wrong with you, black women? What's wrong with you voting for Barack Obama? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy. Black people.
I could definitely, you know, say sense on that too. You know, I did vote for Barack the first term. You know, a lot of black folks voted for Barack. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I get what he's saying from the aspect of, you know, the being born black, you know, need to come from a black father and a black mother. You know, I mean, that's just, you know, that's just how it goes. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's just how it goes.
Tell y'all something. If you don't ever hear me say preach again, they can kill me tomorrow. Let me tell you something. We're not going to ever get anywhere until we look into the mind of a black man. He doesn't think correctly. I don't care what he is. He can be a doctor. He can be an astrophysicist. The nigga ain't got no sense. You talk to him. You talk to a black man. He doesn't understand the world. He's never built anything. The most the black people have ever done, they did it here in America under white people's help. When they were in Africa, they didn't do nothing.
Wow. So, you know what I'm saying? What do you say? When we was in Africa, we did do nothing. Which, you know, like I say, in recent times, man, here in recent times, I can somewhat agree with that, you know, and I'm talking about, you know, very recently here, you know, but thousands of years ago, black people did run Africa. It just is what it is. You know, certain parts of Africa have always been, you know, in dire straits. Just like other parts of the world, you know, at one point, China was in dire straits. Let's just keep this real. You know, China was a third world country at one point. you know, for a long period of time now. China just recently started not being a third world country within the late 20th century, early 21st century. If you go back further than that, China was a third world country. Japan, you know what I'm saying, Korea, all these places, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Even if you go back further than that, England had its own issues and stuff like that. So every country on the planet has had its own times of extreme poverty and extreme, you know, destitute. You know, but I get what he's saying. Certain parts of Africa and stuff like that, it seems like they just not coming up out of it. And, you know, I get it. You know, wars and all this other type of stuff, poverty, you know, I get it, but you know, black people, we have done certain things on this planet, but at the same time though, too, throughout the, you know, 19th century, 20th century, 21st century, we really hadn't had a lot of control over our image, and a lot of information about black people's history in the past, in the, you know, in the extreme past, back in the real day, has been, you know, distorted, erased, and things like that. So, you know, we tend to look at it now like black people never really accomplished anything throughout the history of this planet, when that's just completely false. That's just completely false. But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.